I still remember the day I walked away from my family's mansion, my father's words echoing through the marble halls. "Worthless child, you'll never succeed." The rain poured down, matching the tears streaming down my face as I clutched my small suitcase. Everything I owned after being cut off completely. I'm Olivia Sterling, and that was 10 years ago. I was 22, fresh out of business school, and I had just committed the ultimate sin in my father's eyes. I refused to join Sterling Industries, our family's company, as a junior executive. "You're throwing away your birthright," my mother had whispered, her perfectly manicured hands trembling around her wine glass. "The position is already arranged. Why must you be so difficult?" But I had seen something in Sterling Industries that my parents were blind to, a company so entrenched in outdated practices that it was slowly dying. My father, James Sterling, ran the company like it was still 1985, refusing to adapt to the digital age, dismissing innovation as trendy nonsense. I had tried to show him the problems. I spent months preparing a detailed presentation about necessary modernization, complete with market research and implementation strategies. My father's response? He laughed. Not just a chuckle. A full, theatrical laugh that made every executive in the boardroom join in nervously. "This is why women shouldn't run companies," he had said, wiping tears of amusement from his eyes. "Too emotional, too caught up in trends. Go work in HR, sweetheart. Leave the real business to men." My older brother Marcus sat there smirking, already secure in his position as heir apparent. He hadn't worked a day in his life, but he had the right gender and the right attitude. Blind obedience to our father's outdated vision. That night I made my decision. I wouldn't waste my life watching the company crumble from inside. I had my own vision, my own dreams. When I told my parents I was leaving to start my own company, all hell broke loose. "You ungrateful brat," my father had roared, his face turning purple. "I gave you everything, and this is how you repay me? By betraying the family." My mother just sat there, silent tears running down her face as if I had died. In a way, perhaps I had. The obedient daughter they thought they had raised was gone. "Get out," my father had screamed. "Don't come back until you're ready to apologize and take your proper place. You'll never succeed on your own. You're nothing without the Sterling name." I left with $2,300 in my personal account, money I'd saved from summer jobs my parents didn't know about. Everything else was in trust funds I could no longer access. My credit cards were already canceled by the time I reached my car. But what my family never understood was that their greatest gift to me wasn't money. It was education. Years of listening to business discussions over dinner, absorbing strategies, understanding market dynamics. I had learned from their successes and, more importantly, from their failures. I rented a tiny studio apartment in the rough part of town and took a job as a business consultant for small tech startups. During the day, I helped other companies modernize and grow. At night, I worked on my own dream, Phoenix Industries. The name wasn't just a company, it was a promise to myself. Like the mythical bird, I would rise from the ashes of my old life and build something extraordinary. My focus? Digital transformation for traditional industries. I understood the old way of doing business, but I also saw the future. The first year was brutal. I worked 18-hour days, lived on ramen noodles, and used my apartment's living room as an office. But slowly things started happening. My consulting work gave me connections in the tech world. Small successes led to bigger clients. I was ruthlessly efficient, saving every penny of profit. By year 3, Phoenix Industries had 20 employees and a real office. By year 5, we were handling digital transformation for Fortune 500 companies. I kept my name out of the press, operating through subsidiaries and shell companies. As far as the business world knew, Phoenix Industries was run by a mysterious CEO who never appeared in public. My family? I heard snippets about them through business news. Sterling Industries was struggling to adapt to the digital age, exactly as I had predicted. Their stock was dropping, their market share shrinking. My brother's leadership as CEO was a joke in industry circles. But I stayed focused on my own path. Every time I felt like giving up, I remembered my father's words. "You'll never succeed." Those words became my fuel. While Sterling Industries clung to the past, Phoenix Industries helped other companies embrace the future. 10 years passed this way. I built my empire piece by piece, acquisition by acquisition. Phoenix Industries became a powerhouse in digital transformation, with offices in 12 countries and over 10,000 employees. My personal net worth exceeded my father's in year 8, but nobody knew. I lived comfortably but modestly, driving the same car I bought in year 5. Then came the day I had both dreaded and anticipated. My assistant rushed into my office, her eyes wide with excitement. "Ms. Sterling, Sterling Industries just announced they're looking for emergency investment. They're on the verge of bankruptcy." I picked up the report she handed me, my hands steady despite the storm of emotions inside. Sterling Industries, once valued at $89 million, was now worth less than half that. Their stock had plummeted 70% in the last quarter alone. Their biggest problem? Failure to modernize, my assistant continued. They're losing contracts to more technologically advanced competitors. I leaned back in my chair, looking out at the city skyline from my penthouse office. 10 years of preparation had led to this moment. I opened my laptop and typed a simple email to my board. "Initiative Homecoming is a go. Prepare the takeover documents." The next day, Sterling Industries received an offer they couldn't refuse. A lifeline from Phoenix Industries. The terms were simple: full operational control in exchange for saving the company from bankruptcy. I knew my father would fight it. His pride wouldn't let him accept defeat easily. But I also knew he had no choice. His investors were in revolt, the board was threatening to remove him, and his beloved company was weeks away from collapse. What he didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the CEO of Phoenix Industries, the mysterious savior they were about to meet, was the worthless child they had thrown away a decade ago. Sometimes success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. The Sterling Industries boardroom hadn't changed in 10 years. The same mahogany table, the same leather chairs, even the same pretentious oil paintings of past CEOs, including my father's portrait, though it looked noticeably older now, just like him. I stood in the adjoining room, watching through one-way glass as the Sterling Industries board assembled for the emergency meeting. My father sat at the head of the table, his once black hair now completely gray, his confident posture replaced by a slight stoop. Marcus slouched beside him, fiddling with his phone, still showing the same disinterest in business he had a decade ago. "The Phoenix Industries CEO is here," my assistant announced to them right on cue. "Shall I send her in?" The word, "her," caused immediate murmuring around the table. I saw my father's jaw clench. He still couldn't handle the idea of women in power. "Her." Marcus scoffed. "Dad, we're really going to let some woman take control of our company?" Before my father could respond, I opened the door and walked in. The room fell silent. My mother, sitting in the observers section, dropped her designer purse. Marcus's phone clattered onto the table. And my father, he looked like he'd seen a ghost. "Olivia," he whispered, his face draining of color. I wore a crisp black suit, my heels clicking against the marble floor as I walked to the podium. 10 years of confidence radiated from every step. "Good morning, everyone. I'm Olivia Sterling, CEO of Phoenix Industries." Marcus jumped up, his chair screeching against the floor. "This is a joke, right? Little Olivia. The failure." I smiled, removing a folder from my briefcase. "Actually, Marcus, I'm the one here to stop Sterling Industries from failing. Your failure, to be precise. Shall we look at the numbers?" I clicked a remote and the screen behind me lit up with graphs and charts. "Sterling Industries has lost 70% of its market value under your leadership. Your technology is obsolete, your management structure is archaic, and your market share is evaporating. Now see here." My father started to bluster, but I cut him off. "No, Dad. You've done enough talking. For 10 years, you've run this company like it's still the 1980s. Remember when I tried to warn you about digital transformation? When I presented those modernization plans you laughed at?" I clicked to the next slide. My original presentation from 10 years ago, followed by charts showing exactly how my predictions had come true. Everything I warned you about happened. Every single thing. And now you need my help to save this company. The company you said I'd never be good enough to run. My father's face had turned an interesting shade of purple. "This is outrageous. I won't let you." "You don't have a choice," I interrupted, sliding copies of the takeover agreement across the table. "Phoenix Industries will inject $150 million into Sterling Industries, preventing bankruptcy. We'll modernize your infrastructure, update your technology and bring you into the current century. But I will have full operational control. Marcus laughed, but it sounded hollow. The board will never approve this. The board already has, said Harold Matthews, the head of the board of directors, speaking for the first time. We voted this morning. It was unanimous. My mother finally found her voice. Olivia, sweetheart, you can't do this to your own family. Family. I turned to her, keeping my voice level. The same family that threw me out. That cut me off completely. That said I'd never succeed. I shook my head. I'm not doing this to my family, Mom. I'm saving the company my grandfather built, from my family. I walked around the table, stopping beside my father's chair. You know what the saddest part is, Dad? If you had listened to me 10 years ago, none of this would have been necessary. Your stubbornness, your pride, your refusal to change, that's what brought us here. He wouldn't meet my eyes. His hands trembled as he reached for the takeover agreement. Sign it, I said quietly. Or I'll wait 2 weeks and buy Sterling Industries at bankruptcy auction for half this offer. One by one the documents were signed. With each signature I watched the power shift in the room. Marcus stormed out before it was finished, slamming the door behind him. My mother dabbed at her eyes with an expensive handkerchief. My father, the great James Sterling, seemed to shrink in his chair. As the board members filed out, I remained standing at the head of the table. Finally my father spoke, his voice barely a whisper. How did you do it? I did exactly what you taught me, Dad. I saw an opportunity and I took it. The only difference is I saw the future while you clung to the past. He nodded slowly, years of arrogance finally crumbling. And now? What happens to us? You'll retire, of course. Spend time with Mom. Travel. Marcus will need to find a real job. I hear Walmart is hiring. I allowed myself a small smile. Sterling Industries will survive, Dad. It just won't be run by Sterlings anymore. As I turned to leave, my mother called out, Olivia, wait. Can we at least have dinner sometime? Try to be a family again. I paused at the door, thinking of all the family dinners where I'd been belittled, all the holidays where my achievements were dismissed. Maybe someday, Mom. But right now I have a company to run. Actually, 2 companies. That evening I sat in my office watching the sun set over the city. My assistant brought in a copy of tomorrow's Wall Street Journal, the headline already set. Phoenix rises. Mystery CEO revealed in Sterling Industries takeover. I poured myself a glass of champagne, the same brand my father used to celebrate Marcus's business accomplishments, such as they were. The irony wasn't lost on me. My phone buzzed with a text from my father. I was wrong. I'm sorry. 10 years too late, I thought, but I appreciated the effort. I typed back a simple response. I know. Success, I've learned, isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. And sometimes the greatest revenge isn't making others fail. It's succeeding so spectacularly that they have no choice but to acknowledge what they threw away. I raised my glass to the city lights, toasting the scared young woman who had walked away from wealth and privilege to build something of her own. She had no idea that her father's cruel words, "You'll never succeed," would become the foundation of an empire. Sometimes the people who try to break you end up making you unbreakable instead.